Hey everyone. So before we start to dive in to supply and demand, which is really the basic core of economics, it's important to understand the basic setups that kind of go into all that. And the first thing we need to look at is this idea of a market. Now, what is a market? A market is, it used to be thought of in more of physical terms to where you had buyers and sellers people coming to one place to exchange their goods and services in exchange for money. Today, that has really expanded. Now, in general, a market is some place where buyers and sellers are able to come together and interact with each other. And so that's where the sellers will bring in the goods and services that they want to offer, and the buyers come to get them in exchange for money. So that market is actually where these two groups come together. A good example of this would be a farmer's market or a flea market. So if you've ever been to one of those, you go there to a farmer's market or a flea market. For example, the farmer's market, you have a lot of farmers or producers of fruits and vegetables coming to one place, and then you have people who want to buy those fruits and vegetables go there as well, and they work with each other. They exchange money for that fruit. The same happens with a flea market, where you have people come together to sell their goods mostly, and the buyers come there as well. Over the years, this has really expanded, and what you're seeing more and more is this idea of the internet, where buyers and sellers are able to come together um, more easily and quicker and cheaper. And so it's really evolved and expanded over the years. Now, one of the things we're going to be looking at here specifically is this idea of a competitive market. So what makes a market competitive? We'll talk about this more when we talk about perfectly competitive markets, but the idea with a competitive market is that you have many buyers and many sellers, and they come together. So because you have many buyers and many sellers coming together, none have any true power in influencing the market. And so what happens when we have this competitive market is we have, say a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers, nobody has any real power, and so they're constantly competing against each other. All right, so hence this idea of competitive market. Now, while this wasn't always the case, today we look at things and to get goods and services almost entirely comes down to money. So while as centuries ago it may have been more of a barter system, today we have money. Okay? So the producers, the seller of the goods and services, they put a price on it, whatever they're trying to sell, and then the consumers, the people who want to buy it, they come in and offer that money for it. When you look at money, there are two ways to look at it. The first way is a money price. And a money price is important for a number of reasons, but the main one being that is how we approach an economy. We look at things in dollar forms. And so instead of trying to trade one good for another, where you have to think about the value, having money does that. So a money price is going to be $1, $2, $3, so forth. Okay, so it's in dollar form or currency. The other type of price is a relative price. And this becomes important in economics because it helps us to fully understand and compare different goods. So with a relative price, it's not in currency, it's the price of one good in terms of another good. So for example, good X is the same as good Y. Or good X is 5 times as valuable as good Y.
So let's look at an example of that with literally apples and oranges. So if we go up here, let's say that an apple costs $1 and an orange costs $2. So we want to see how many of each we can buy. So let's say that we had just $2. Well, if we had $2 and an apple cost $1 each, all right, with $2 we could buy 2 apples. All right, so again, apple costs $1 each, you have $2, you can buy 2 apples. Now with oranges, with $2, you can only buy 1 because an orange costs you $2. You only have $2, so you can buy 1 orange. So what does that mean? And this kind of gets back to opportunity cost as well, because what is the cost of the highest alternative? And when we look at that, you see that, all right, let's see, with $2, you can buy 2 apples or 1 orange. Okay. So let's look at it from the orange standpoint for a second. So this is the relative price we're looking at. So with $2, you can buy 1 orange or 2 apples. So what does that mean? That means that 1 orange is equivalent to 2 apples. So for each orange, which costs $2, if you buy one, that's 2 fewer apples that you can buy. So the opportunity cost, the relative price of 1 orange is 2 apples. Now, if you look at it the other way, an apple costs $2. For $2, you can buy either 2 apples or 1 orange. That means that for every apple you buy, you have to give up half of an orange. Because for every 2 apples you buy, you have to give up 1, divided by 2. And so the relative price of 1 apple is half of an orange. Okay. And this is not working out well. Let's do it this way. There we go. So again, this is looking at things in relative prices. Now, if we look at another example, let's say that the price of an apple went up to $2. So now with $2, you can only buy 1 apple. And so if you look at the relative price, 1 apple is going to cost you 1 orange. And 1 orange is going to cost you then just 1 apple now. So this is just a way to look at the opportunity cost, look at the full value, the full price of something in terms of other goods. And so, for example, just kind of look at it another way. Let's say going to the movies with your family or on a date costs, let's just say $50. Whereas going to dinner costs $100. Okay, it's a nice dinner, but so $100 for dinner, $50 for the movie. That means that for every time you go to dinner, you have to give up 2 trips to the movies. So the relative price of 1 dinner is 2 movies. On the other side of that, because movies only cost half as much as dinner, every time when you go to 2 movies, you have to give up 1 dinner. And so for every movie you go to, you have to give up half of the dinner. So this is just a way to look at prices in both the dollar price as well as relative.